Welcome to Co-op Mode, round 161. It's a palindrome, folks. This is the official video game podcast of Secret Friends Unite. I am Todd Oxtra, living the dream. It's St. Patrick's Day. It's also my sister's birthday. I am drinking an Irish ale, but it's not green. So I apologize for that. But and I also did not catch a leprechaun this year. So sorry,
man. Can't win them all.
But I'm joined by the Canadian Mark Carabin. Mark, did you get a leprechaun?
I mean, I'm kind of gingery. I'm wearing green. Okay. I'm half Irish and Scottish. I think I'm about as close to a leprechaun as you could hope to catch. So you caught me, I think.
There we go. Where's your pot of gold?
Show in the mail. It will.
Okay. I'll look for it.
Don't worry. You can trust a leprechaun. It will get to you.
Okay. I appreciate that. I'm excited to see how this goes. Well, folks, this is going to be a different type of episode because we're really not going to have a lot on the agenda because we're going to be talking about, Byron Return. We're going to go into what we've been playing, and then we're just going to talk about the Switch event that's coming up on April 2nd. We're going to give our last minute predictions and guesses of what is going to happen. So it's our last chance to, figure out what will happen before it actually does. So with that, we want to say thank you to some very special people that make this show happen.
We do. That's the awesome people over at patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite. You can join the Patreon Secret Friends Squad, including the Besties tier, Derek Trevelyan, Francie, aka the official hairstylist of SFU, Xbox Expansion Pass, Charlie's Uncle Tim, the Friends with Benefits tier, John Sedorf, Phoenix Sisters Entertainment. Congratulations, by the way. Brendan Myers, Corian HD, Matthew Keel, Kurt Krug, and Tanya Lee. And of course, we can't mention the amazing people over at Patreon without mentioning the Secret Friends Super Squad of Sean, Stella, and Henry Nias. You can join all of these amazing people for free for 7 days, and then as little as $2 a month gets you exclusive shows, no ads, Discord benefits, and all that fun stuff. So go check us out for free. And if you want it for free for longer, we have a special giveaway going on.
Yes.
Thanks to the Nias family.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to help you with your voice. Mark's a little under the weather. He's a trooper, though, so I'm going to see if I can help him out a little bit. The Nias family were very gracious. They love the show, and they want others to check it out and be able to share it with others. So he said, let's give away 5 annual Friends with Benefits subscriptions. You're going to get all of our Patreon benefits ad-free for a year. You'll get our Discord benefits and everything Mark already talked about. So the cool part, it's easy to win. Just email us at secretfriendsunite@gmail.com with subject Patreon giveaway, and we'll pick the winners at random. The winners will be announced by the end of the first week of April. We expanded this a little bit longer because we got some more entries, and we thought, hey, why not? Let's give some more people some more chances to win. So
I'm going to make it easier if anyone's listening.
Oh.
If you can't remember the email address when you're finished listening to the show, you're driving or something like that, DM me. Get me on Instagram, get me on Discord, whatever it is, DM me your screenshot, and that's how we'll do the entries that way as well. I'm fully open to DMs anywhere. I usually check Instagram the most. But if you're on TikTok, if you're on Discord, however you want to try to get me, make it that easy for people to enter.
Yeah, we got an entry, and this is weird. They asked if I was entered. And I'm like, yes. Did you already do this? And like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay. So something's missed. So we're checking junk mail, we're checking everything just to make sure nothing gets missed. So yeah, if I haven't replied, because I'll tell you if I get your entry. So if you did do it, you don't get it. DM us on socials, and then once again, you can DM myself, Secret Friends Unite. All our socials are open. Do it, and we'll make sure you're in. So good luck, everyone. We can't wait to see who gets these. So with that, Mark, it's that time we talked about the best console reveals a while back, but now we're getting to the worst console launches, Mark. We've got the Sega Saturn, the PS3, and the Virtual Boy. Buy, rent, and return all of these infamous systems. Oh my goodness. And I would say at this point, they all had their own baggage, and it was a very hard road ahead for them.
Yeah.
So, Mark, we had a couple people. Well, we actually had Brian Horan from our Discord who gave us his picks. He said,
Yes.
"All right, so buy rent return." He says, "Buy PS3." Ended up being a good console after launch. It was just a launch disaster. Still a 7 out of 10 console. Yeah, $599.
Yeah.
Giant enemy crab. Hit the enemy for what was it? Their weak point. Get a second job. Any more
That was
memes?
the
Oh,
kicker.
Red Racer. Anything else? Or Ridge Racer?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did I miss anything else?
Yeah.
Rent Virtual Boy. Even though it had a very limited library and was kind of way ahead of its time, it would be really cool to experience one innovative platform.
Yeah.
Very small library. We're talking
Super
like
small
I think
library.
8 games in the US, which
Yeah.
I think you can
If
even
you
play on the
have,
3DS now.
I was just going to say, if you have a 3DS, jailbreak it. It's very, very easy. Again, DM me for instructions and links or whatever. Don't worry about it.
There's
And
in
you can play
Canada.
the entire
The law
library.
can't get them.
Yeah, come at me, bro. You can play the entire library, and I will walk you through how to do that. So anyone curious, message me. I also heard there's a way to do it on Quest. There's a way to do it in VR,
There's got to
which
be.
I
That would be
think would be
fun. I
cool.
need to check that out. I really
But
need to check that out because
it really works on 3DS, and I've only done it on the 3DS. 2DS, I don't know if it would have the same pop because you need
I don't think
3D
so.
for some of these games.
Yeah.
But if you have a 3DS, 3DS XL, anything with 3D, try it out.
Yeah, I'm assuming those systems. There's so many of them that they're not that expensive. Pick one up. You know, there's so many versions too. Pick one up if
Oh
you
yeah,
find it, and there's
yeah,
ways to have a lot of fun time with it. Especially make it your kid's first system. It's perfect for that. And then you can play the Virtual Boy because you don't want to hurt you don't want to damage your kid's eyes. So Mark, watch out
yes,
for Finn. And then lastly, Sega Saturn. Every console in this generation did better than the Saturn, including the N64, even with Nintendo's inability to rate a market and want for the discs. Saturn was the beginning of the end for Sega consoles. And of course, Dreamcast had some cool games. Unfortunately, a little too
yep,
late. Yeah. So, and if anybody doesn't know, the Sega Saturn, what was infamous about that was they announced it at E3 and they said it's available now. Nobody was ready for it. And I think it was $399 because they were so worried about, and because the PlayStation was launching out, I think a month later, or something like that. And they were going to launch at $299. And I think that's what they said when they just got up on stage and said $299. And that's what PlayStation did to basically kill the Sega Saturn. It wasn't a great 3D game system, had a lot of issues, and Sega had burned so many people from, what is it? It was the Sega CD, then it was the 32X. And then they basically made a power tower of, it was like the Genesis plus the Sega CD plus the 32X plus I don't know, is there something else that I'm forgetting?
I can't. I just remember the Tower of Power, just ridiculous.
Yeah, and they were after that. They're like, I don't even know anybody. I actually don't know anybody who ever owned a Saturn.
I'm trying to remember. I think my uncle may have owned one. I think, but I don't quote me on that one. That was not
You have to ask him,
super
Mark.
well received. Yeah, I will. Next time I'm talking to him, I'll ask if it was a Saturn.
Ask him if he still has it. I mean, hey, some of those games are worth a lot.
Yeah. Sure, it's floating around if that's what it is, or whatever it was. I'm sure it's still floating around somewhere. Solid picks, though.
I mean, yeah, I mean, Virtual Boy, like we said, it was $179 when it launched, which was a big deal. And from what I was reading, that Nintendo, the only reason they really got into this, because apparently they looked in the technology, they thought it was very interesting. But the reason they launched it is because the N64 was delayed. So like, we just got to have something out there, which is so unlike Nintendo. Like Nintendo doesn't move for anybody. So for them to do that and then essentially not really support it it was like their shortest supported system too. It was like, I think I think it was pulled after a year.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Didn't last at all. And you had this launch of a couple of games, single color, hard system to sell people because you can't portray it properly. We just talked about this on a 2DS, but you can't portray it properly on a 2D screen. So how do you how do you show people the value? And nowadays, most people have tried on or kind of are more
Hmm.
familiar with the concept of VR or something like that. But for this, back then, it was very novel. So you can't really, you, you can't really portray that in a commercial of like, hey, step into a new world. You can jazz it up all you want, but until people actually step in the thing, but then the hardware just also wasn't good. And I played a Virtual Boy, I know someone that had one,
Did it
and
use
even as a
batteries or
kid,
did it use a cord?
I believe it was plugged in. I
Oh
know the
wow.
controller was plugged into the headset, and the headset stood on a table. So even
Well, they
as
had
a
a little
kid,
stand. Yeah.
even as a kid, I would have to be kind of like hunched down and
Yeah.
playing like that. So I can't even imagine trying to do that as an adult in any kind of comfortable way because it didn't have a strap. There was no
It didn't
way.
have a strap. I wonder why they didn't do a strap. That seemed that would have solved a lot of
I
problems.
wonder, I wonder, I wonder, right? Like it's
Yeah.
yeah, but it definitely would have. Maybe it was too heavy. I don't know. I can't remember the
Yeah, they
weight
didn't
of
want
this
kids like
stupid
having
thing,
neck pain and neck issues. It's like,
right?
yeah, these
But
kids are all showing up the
like
ER
think
with
of a
virtual boy
microphone
neck.
stand
Well, yeah,
like this, and think of like bending down to get your eyes into the microphone. It was wildly uncomfortable, and I was 12 or something. It was crazy. Um,
and definitely not portable. Like you said, if it had to plug in, sit on a table, it's kind of like not exactly a boy of any point where a boy was all portable. And then it was
right.
red and black. Red and black was an interesting, color scheme. They did green and black on the Game Boy, so different color approach. But yeah, different
And
approach to this.
if I'm not mistaken, you started getting reports pretty quickly afterwards, or maybe even been before launch, but reports of it's giving people headaches. It's
Mm.
causing eye strain. It's causing this, it's causing that. Don't get this for young kids, which is Nintendo's demographic. So you can't just toss it at some kid like a Game Boy or an SNES. It was like, okay, you can get this, but you can only play it for 30 minutes at a time. No, we're used to Nintendo being the babysitter. Why are we going to fork out more money for this thing when we already have a Nintendo at home that can just be our babysitter in front of the TV? There's all these restrictions and news stories and just a ton of stuff just damning this thing for everyone. It was such a wild mislaunch.
Yeah, it came out in 90. It came out in 95. All I could find
It
out
was
on, I didn't even
11.
find much
Wow.
on the launch details. Um, it was announced at E3. I couldn't find any like pictures of E3 with anybody demoing it. I couldn't see anything at all for this. So it was like kind of like a stealth launch just to get some noise. But once again, it was right in the middle of Saturn,
Yeah.
PlayStation, and all these things. And then N64 came a year later. So kind of crazy period of time. Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. And then I already talked about PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
Disaster
Yeah.
launch, no big titles to launch with, $599. Only, I think it had backwards compatibility, but it also, they also scared people at first where they were going to give you the boomerang. The boomerang never came.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. And then they said no rumble. Rumble is the thing of the
Right.
past. It's got six axis. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was prime Sony arrogance at the time.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was
It.
huge, looked like a George Foreman grill. I mean, what else you want?
Yeah.
Okay.
It.
So
If you could break the PS3 launch down to one word, I think it would be arrogant or arrogance. I think you nailed it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Every video game system maker, typically after at least, if not always the second system, at least the third system.
Yeah.
And Sony, I don't believe they're that arrogant with the PS2. And then Xbox was arrogant after the 360. So that was their third system.
Oh
So
yeah.
typically,
Yep.
it doesn't take long for you to get high on your own supply. So
Yeah.
with that, Mark, everybody's got a little background on these if they're a little too young to know these systems.
Yeah.
What would you buy, rent, and return?
Um. This is a tough one, and I like the reasoning of PS3 ended up being good, so I think that's probably going to be my buy. Um, it ended up being a good console. It started to catch up. It was, they fumbled the launch spectacularly, but it's at least a fun one to make fun of because it didn't sink the company or didn't it wasn't a disaster if you did buy one at launch. Like, you still had years of enjoyment, unlike Virtual Boy or Sega Saturn, which was just, like, you think about that as the downturn of Sega, and it's like, oh, that's kind of sad. And like Virtual Boy was just such an epic fail. But at least PS3 turned it around. So I'm gonna go buy for that one. Um, I think I'm going to rent the Sega Saturn, because even if that is the console that my uncle owned, I did not put a ton of time into that. And returning Virtual Boy, because I can play those games now on a much more comfortable screen and handheld, and they run perfectly and they're fine, and I don't really need to kink my neck trying to fit it into a short, weird little tabletop virtual display. The games are fun. Again, I strongly recommend anyone to Google or YouTube or DM me the details of jailbreaking and trying out Virtual Boy on their 3DS. The games are fun. Some of them are really, really cool and could not be done again on anything less than a 3DS with 3D hardware. You need it to play these games. So they are lost gems that you're never going to see on a virtual console or on Nintendo Switch Online or anything like that until Nintendo does a proper VR set again, because you just can't. So strongly recommend. So it kind of, for the novelty of the library, it hurts me to return that one, but hardware launch kind of thing, I think I'm going to send that one back.
I don't know if I've ever played I think I might have played the Virtual Boy once, like at a GameStop or I guess EB Games or whatever it was called at the time, Babbage's. I might have, but the library is so small that it's, to your point, I could probably just watch YouTube videos of it, at least to get a feel for it. And like, okay, I've got an appreciation for this. It was a system
you can't, because it's on a 2D screen.
Well,
YouTube videos still don't do it justice to how inventive and cool some of these games were. You could try, and you might be able to get a sense of like, oh, I can understand how that was visualized. But it was very interesting and very well done for the time. Some of the games are impossible to reproduce or properly comprehend on a 2D screen. I'm going to stand by that statement.
Okay. Well, I am going to make an effort, Mark. Apparently you can get the Virtual Boy Go on SideQuest. So I am going to give that a try, just so I can experience, because you know what? Why not? It's fun. Nintendo obviously doesn't care. It's not like we're getting the Nintendo Switch Online Virtual Boy. We never got that on Labo. So sorry, Nintendo, you're missed out. So I'm gonna buy the PlayStation 3. To your point, I was late to the party. I think I waited a year to get the PlayStation 3. I ended up buying it somehow. I got the 60 gig with backwards compatibility. And the games were not good at launch, but then we started getting some good games. That was the first era that Sony really started giving some banger first party games like Uncharted. I love the Resistance series. I know a lot of people don't, but I really love that, and just some great games. And so that game, and obviously that system ended with The Last of Us Part 1. So it's like crazy how they came back. Not many systems get a chance to find themselves. The 3DS had a little bit of that, where it had a rough start and found itself. Yeah. PlayStation 3 did as well. I think it ended up eventually just barely outselling the Xbox 360, just because it was so big everywhere, where the Xbox 360 was just big in North America. That was its territory. So I'll give the PlayStation 3. And it was and of course my Blu-ray drive died on it. So when I got a replacement for it, I ended up getting the one that didn't have backwards compatibility. So I'm like, oh, okay. Moving on. So I would rent the Sega Saturn because I never played it. And when I looked at the list of games, there's some really good games on the system. A lot of Japanese games on the system that when I looked, I'm like, unreleased. So the system seemed to be really popular in Japan, but obviously not popular anywhere else. So died before its time. Apparently it won a great 2D system, not a great 3D system. So, but I mean, There is a fighting game on the Saturn, I believe, where you can fight as one of the cars from Daytona, USA. So, you know what? If that's not enough to want me to check out the system, I don't know what it is. And we never got a Sega Saturn collection. We got like Dreamcast collections. So I would love to
Yeah.
see them make a Sega Saturn collection. I'm not sure why they didn't. Oh, well.
Interesting.
And yeah, and then I'm returning the Virtual Boy just because, yeah, it was more of a gimmick than it truly was a great gaming system, and I will give it a try on the 3D on the 3S if I can, if it's
All
not too
right.
difficult. I assume it's not. Oh well.
It is not. It may be difficult to find the games,
Sure.
but if you happen to know someone who has the games
Mm-hmm.
already and
Mm-hmm.
could like maybe, I don't know, send you files of completely unrelated things.
But they've got to
Or
be
like put them
huge. They've got
in.
at least got to be like 5 megabytes
Yeah, I'm going to put them on
or
a
something like that.
massive
Yeah.
server
Yes.
and
Laser
ship
disc.
it
You can
down.
put them on like a laser disc, maybe
Uh,
a zip disc of the time. Yeah.
they definitely won't be in the Google Drive by the end of this
Mm.
conversation.
No,
Um,
no. Yeah.
no,
Who knows?
how would
You
that
know,
happen?
the thing about the internet is you can't find anything.
No, it's very difficult to
It's
find.
impossible.
Yeah, yeah, super, super tough.
All right. So we move on from Byron Return, the games and systems we might have played, to games we are playing. So, Mark, you've got a little bit
Yes,
of an exclusive for us.
I do. As of the day this episode drops, I'm allowed to give my full thoughts and impressions on Assassin's Creed Shadows. I have been playing this the last, I guess, since last week or so. It is fantastic. Short version. I don't want to say too many spoilers because it releases, I believe, what's the 18th? So literally a day before this
Hmm.
episode drops. Um, so I don't want to give out too much, but holy crap, I am absolutely in love with this game. Um, it's it, it's an Assassin's Creed game. If you've never ever liked Assassin's Creed games, I don't know if you'll be sold on this one. That being said, they have changed up a lot of the stuff. I love the setting of Japan. I love the characters so far. I was kind of thrown off waiting for Assassin's Creed, and I think a lot of people thought the same thing. Waiting for Assassin's Creed to hit Japan, waiting for a samurai, waiting for these kind of characters, and then getting Yasuke, who is an interesting real person. Real person. They did not make him up for this game. An interesting African man who became a samurai, went from lost at sea to kind of like a slave helper kind of person to emperor or whatever, right hand man, um, brutal samurai, and then just kind of disappeared. So like leaving a lot of mystery and a lot of legend around this very real person. But when I first saw it, it was like, okay, there's no interesting person that they could have picked or made up from Japanese heritage that they had to pick like the one black guy that held a katana in history. Seemed kind of insulting to Japanese people. I thought from first glance, I was kind of
Hmm.
worried of like, is this, cool, great, a black protagonist in an Assassin's Creed game, awesome. But I was wondering where the story would go, and I can happily say that he is a very interesting character. Um, but but after a brief introduction to him, you switch over to Naue, who is the stealthier, faster, agile, um, more shinobi style fighter, and her story takes center stage for most of the intro. And you can again, I'm trying to avoid some spoilery
Sure.
kind of things, but I'm happy to say that it does delve into her village, her family, her traditions, her story, basically, diving into Japanese culture at the time and doing a really, really interesting job. Yusuke, like I said, amazing to play as, combat oriented. He is a tank. When you hit something with him, they feel it. They might not get back up. Naue, a little bit more stealthy, a little bit more agile, still hits hard. Man, she can take down a squad, and it's fun. But yeah, it's really, I'm really enjoying it, and I'm loving the pacing of this one. Um, like I said, they give you an introductory kind of, here's what's going to happen, and then they throw you into Naoi's story as well. And there are parts of it that are slow, but it's in the best kind of way. It's genuinely heartbreaking at times, and this is all before the opening title card.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
you
Okay.
get this heartbreaking slow introduction. You get to meet both characters, and then the Assassin's Creed Shadows title card breaks it. So like, this is, I'm so back, from spoilers but that's all I will say about that part is there are genuinely heartbreaking bits of this where she just breaks and you wonder how she's going to put herself back together. Or if she will put herself back together. Will this all be flashbacks and you're starting at the end of her story? Because there's some things there that it's just like physical and mental anguish, and you feel it all. The motion capture, the voice acting, the animation, they're really pushing what next gen can do, which I love, because I think a lot of Assassin's Creed games, even that have come out this generation, have been kind of held back by last gen's hardware. But yeah, montage, opening thing, all of that's beautifully done. If you're familiar with Assassin's Creed games, again, you're familiar with the parkour and that kind of stuff. They've added a grappling hook mechanic for Naue, and it is fluid as hell, adds to the parkour. I was curious if it would feel kind of Batman Arkham-esque, where it would just be kind of like cheap, like throw the grapple up,
Get
pull,
out of
you're on
dodge.
top of
Yep.
a roof, right? It doesn't work like that, thankfully. It just
Okay.
assists. Every once in a while, you'll see a ledge or something that you can grab onto. That's your starting point. Kind of like the older games where you'd run up, you'd grab a rope, and you'd cut the bottom of the rope, and it'd zip you up. It's even it works like that sometimes. Sometimes it can be slower. Sometimes it's very Uncharted or Lara Croft feeling or Indiana Jones feeling when you go across a cavern or something like that. There's some cool, even like achievements and stuff that you can get with this grappling hook. It's neat. Play around with it. I love it. One, I'm going to say minor spoilerish thing, and it's about the soundtrack. If you don't want to hear it, skip ahead. There are bits where they use a modern soundtrack in feudal
Like,
Japan.
what are we talking about here? What type of
like
modern music are we talking about?
like modern Japanese rock music. There are electric
Oh,
guitars. There
really?
is singing. There are heavy drums. It is a modern soundtrack for some of this game, and it's mostly action bits, and it slaps. I didn't think it would work. It threw me off the first time. By the second time, you're doing this like anyway, you have to attack. You're with a whole squad, and the attack starts, and it's just you're ready to go. And again, the music just somehow works. It's like one of those things of like, it's almost like the Guardians of the Galaxy. And I think you think most of the Marvel movies, and you think cinematic orchestra,
Sure.
epic kind of soundtrack,
No pop
and then the
music.
Guardians,
Yeah.
right? And then the Guardians kind of hit you with this like nostalgia or like weird songs kind of thrown in there. And this, for the most part, fantastic instrumental, orchestrated soundtrack, atmospheric, all that kind of stuff. But when they hit you with this modern stuff, I don't know, man, it works for me for some reason.
Okay.
It pumps me up. I love it.
Okay.
Um,
Interesting.
I hope they keep going with this in more Assassin's Creed, and I look forward to those parts of the game where there's something modern, where it feels like an action movie, where it's like, we know this is a video game. We know that in this world, you're viewing this through the Animus. So you know what? Maybe the person in the Animus has something turned on where when it's big action beats, they want to listen to rock music. Cool. Let them.
Okay.
Why is the rock music the only thing that's not translated by the Animus? Who cares? Shut up. It's a video game. It's just, it is so good.
So
Yeah,
the Animus
combat,
is part is still part of the series. I'm so out
still
of it.
part. Still
Okay.
part, yes.
Okay.
Animus is still part, has not really come up. You start off, there's one
Okay.
of those little, this isn't what you think, we'll be in touch, watch for the glitches. They're watching you, we're watching them, blah, blah, kind of whatever. That's kind of at the opening. And then you're back, you're into the game, and
Okay.
you can play for quite a long time without worrying about any kind of Animus stuff. But I mean, it's still there as an explanation for why everyone is speaking English, why there's like desynchronization and all that kind of shit that you can explain away and blah,
Okay.
blah, blah.
Okay.
Again, I love the combat in this. It is interesting that they, during this time period, guns and stuff are starting to be thrown in. They are slow muskets,
Yeah.
but they're still starting to be thrown into the combat. So you have people with knives and swords and daggers and bow and arrow versus a musket. And if they hit, they hit. But if they don't, that person's using that as a sword or a staff, and they know how.
Yeah.
So it threw me off, me thinking like, oh, that's your one and done. And then the dude just comes at me like friggin', Donatello on crack. And it's like, oh, shoot. Right. He knows how to handle a stick. Okay. But yeah, the combat is fantastic so far. There's quick moves, there's powerful moves, there's dodge, there's parry, all the stuff that you would expect from an Assassin's Creed game. Yeah, it is so good.
So
I think
is the
that's
structure
oh,
more
yeah.
like is it more like the traditional less RPG style Assassin's Creed games like Odyssey and Valhalla and those games?
Yeah, you still level up.
Mm-hmm.
You still pick from a skill tree, but that's it. It's light RPG
Okay.
at best.
Got
You
it.
still
Okay.
get experience for things, but yeah, it's there are skill trees, and you can play them based on how you want to. If do you want to be more stealthy, put them all in that tree. Do you want to be better with a katana, put them all in that tree. Do you like throwing knives and doing that kind of stuff, fire in that tree, or balance it out however you want to. Absolutely, you can change your wardrobe, and that has attribution points and all that kind of stuff. But I'm still calling it RPG light, if
Okay.
that makes sense.
Um,
Yeah.
let's see. I had another question. So the way it works, do you have to pick a protagonist and then you will go back to the other player at times, or is it just you are playing both equally?
Uh, the I'm going to say first half of the game is a guided experience.
Okay.
You play a specific story with both characters. You then again you switch over to Naue and begin to open up the world. At the end of at a certain point, Yasuke comes back in. Their stories begin to intertwine. You're still being kind of guided. You're still being focused on that, and then the team up happens, and then you get to pick your Avenger. So
Okay.
you can freely switch back and forth between
Oh, that's
the two
cool. I like that.
protagonists. Um, so you can choose to do things stealthy. You can choose to be a battering ram and go through the doors, blade swinging and just kicking things down because you're a 7 foot tall tank of a man versus tiny Japanese warriors. It's fantastic. But that's it. Yeah. So it does. start you off guided. And I absolutely love that part of it. I think that was the way to go. If they just started you off and you could pick either one. I don't know. I don't know if people would give Naue her chance
Sure.
because Yusuke's fun to play with. He's a tank. He's gonna go Hulk smash everything, and that's fun to do. Coming off of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, you're kind of used to that. So going back to a lighter, faster, stealthier character who can get knocked back, would you focus on her? Would you find that balance? So I think they played it right.
Yeah. Yeah, I always wonder about that because it's like a lot of games. Oh, pick your class right at the beginning. It's like,
Yeah.
but what if I don't like it? Do I have to start again? And it's just like, or you pick a character and it gets to frustrating because you feel like you're FOMO. It's like Destiny. I always felt like I had FOMO. I wanted to play the Titan, but I picked the Warlock because I'm like, I think the Warlock looks cool. But I'm like, then I see what people are doing Titan. I got jealous. So it felt like instant regret. And I'm like, am I having as much fun as I could? Whereas this, it sounds like you are introduced to both. You understand how both operate. And then it gives you the freedom to say, you can swap out if you want and have a good time. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Super cool. I think that's about all I want to say at this point until people
Okay.
can get their hands on it. Then I'll kind of come back and give my thoughts. I haven't finished this game yet. So
Okay.
I need to finish it off, and hopefully in a couple of weeks I'll be able to do that and come back and really give some more complete thoughts. I can absolutely say this is the most I've been into an Assassin's Creed game and determined to finish the story and see all the things and do all the stuff in a while. More so than Odyssey or Valhalla, even. And
You'd
I
still be
like
playing
Valhalla.
Valhalla today, Mark, if you tried to finish
Yeah,
it.
yeah. And there are so many side quests in this. You can
Okay.
always find those
Okay.
side quests. You can always find fun little caves and things to go in. One last thing I need to say. Not only can you pet the dog, but it keeps a record of the animals that you have stopped to pet.
Oh,
So if you stop to pet a baby Shiba Inu, it records that. You stop to pet the mom, you get a little title card for that as well. It is
why are you picking
fantastic.
your mom?
The mother dog, not your
Oh,
mom, the
I'm
mom
like, you pet
of
the
the
mom.
baby
I'm like,
dog
what
that
do
I just
you?
mentioned. Jesus. Anyway, it does that, and then there's other little breaks. It reminds me of like Breath of the Wild or a Zelda game in the best possible way, where it's like the world is ending. We need this. We need to do this right away. Oh my goodness, who did this? We have to solve this big mystery. Oh look, there's a little wild pig over here. Let's go sketch it. So there are points in the thing. You'll see a little marker as you're working through the map, and it'll be, oh, there's a wild pig and her baby. I gotta hide in the bushes. It's a stealth mission. Uh, but the only goal of the mission is to draw a cute animal. And it does this great little animation of Naue sketching out the animals playing. And then you can put the artwork up in your home base.
Oh, that's cool.
There's also a base building mechanic. I didn't mention that at all, but it's a great part of it. I love that in, what was that, Assassin's Creed 3 Brotherhood? Where you could build out the base and kind of have
So
operations
was
and
that
send
with
people on
Leonardo,
missions.
or was that what it was
Yeah.
part of, or no? Was that something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you could do, yeah, missions and different things, Revelations, Brotherhood, whatever it was. Yeah, awesome. Love that. Like send scouts out, get resources, gather things like that, and then keep building out your village kind of thing, and getting more characters that you meet along the way and saying, hey, come live with us. They're raiding your village. They raided my village. Come live with us. We're building a community and I'm going to protect it. Fantastic. I freaking love it. So I'm in. There's something, like I said, incredibly tragic about it, but I think it has the Disney effect of like, Disney kills off a parent at the beginning of a movie. So you're emotionally connected to this,
Mhm.
and
Yep.
watching watching some of the like stuff that happens in this game, you feel that like, yeah, I want like retribution for my village. Yeah, I want to find out if this person's still alive or if that person, because you do start to do flashbacks and get pieces of like what led up to other events. Um, so there's some that it's like you meet the person and then they go off and you don't get an ending to that story. So you're like, is that person going to come back? Are they dead? Do you find out later? You know, like all of those things, but it hits that like I said, that Disney emotional thing of like, I'm invested, instantly invested in this character, and the emotional weight of that bit before the title card is like, oh shit, yeah, I'm fully invested in this and I need to finish this story. And I need to have fun doing it, sketching cute animals and finding like bandits while I'm also like, you know, fighting the feudal lords of Japan. And it somehow all works wonderfully.
That's really cool to hear. I mean, I one of my favorite games last gen was Ghost of Tsushima, and it had moments of like make a haiku. I mean, that was just like
Yeah.
kind of crazy. And then
Yeah.
it was also, oh, chase the foxes. Oh, they're so cute,
Mhm.
and you can pet the fox.
Yeah.
Love things like that. And I don't know if you got a chance to watch Shogun. Shogun's amazing. Love the show to pieces. It's amazing. Blue Eyed Samurai is one of my favorite Netflix animation shows. So I love this era.
Yeah.
And because obviously Ghost of Tsushima and Rise of the Ronin are only on PlayStation, this is great that other people can play around in that world. I mean, Sekiro was another game, but that was from and way too
Yeah.
difficult and hard. So
Yeah.
I think this is cool that it's there, and I'm glad to hear you're liking it. And if you were not a big fan of the RPG heavy Assassin's Creed games that took 18 days to beat, it sounds like this is more for the folks that really enjoyed some of those things. It's updated to be, you know, more of a modern game and not falling
Yeah.
back on the same tropes, which is cool.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, excellent, folks. Well, awesome, Mark. Thanks to Ubisoft for helping you out with
Yes.
this. This is
Yeah,
great.
thank you. Ubisoft Canada did provide me with a code for this. That's why I'm being able to play it early and provide this review for launch day. So yeah, thank you as always to Ubisoft Canada for hooking me up with this one. It was really cool to see that land in my inbox, and um, holy crap, yeah! Someone who's played every single game in the series, like this one's instantly up there for like one of the ones that I'm most engaged with right out of the gate and want to stick with all the way through, which is very rare.
Excellent. Well, check that out. Check out the game. It's out this week. And as we talked about, as you listen to this, it's already out. So if you've been playing it, let us know what you think. And ask Mark any questions you've got about the game. If you're stuck, he will help you out. And if you need to learn how to sketch things like Shiba Inus, is that what you're sketching? I can't remember.
Wild
Ask Mark.
pigs is the first thing.
Oh,
That
wild
sketch.
pigs.
Actually, no, a tanuki and then wild pigs. The tanuki is kind of like teaching you how. Also, I got the release date wrong. It's March 20th, but I'm allowed to publish the review the 18th and 19th. So
got it.
Yeah, we're still good to publish this episode, but you can play it on Thursday. So enjoy.
Yeah, check it out on consoles, PC, and Ubisoft Plus if you like that service. So check it out.
Yeah, and it's available for in the Mac app store. Like, there's a Mac release as well. Amazon Luna.
Holy cow!
You can play this sucker anywhere. So
probably GeForce Now. I think they're doing it, supporting it now.
Ubisoft Store, App Store. It's just available just widely. So yeah, go check it out.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the games actually on Xbox. If you own it on Xbox, you can now stream it as part of your game library. You don't need it's just not cloud.
Yes, correct.
Streaming.
Yeah, I can play this in Quest, which is amazing.
Awesome. Very cool. Yeah, that's really cool. Well, as like I said, ask Mark if you have any questions about this game series. He loves the series. Very cool to hear about that. I may even check it out. I'm not an Assassin's Creed guy. I've tried a bunch of them and I just never hook me. Or I play it for a little bit. I'm like, oh yeah, Valhalla is my game. And I'm like, I didn't even get through the first credit scenes because I think it was 20 hours in until you got to the opening credits. I'm like, what is this game? But I did enjoy it. And I kept on lighting myself on fire for some reason. Don't know why. Vikings are highly flammable, by the way, folks.
They really are. And you're not super
Yes.
flammable in this game. I did test that.
That's good to hear. I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a ninja or samurai, you've got time to get flambéed.
Yeah. No, not at all.
Yeah.
So what have you been playing?
Well, more Avowed. I'm really enjoying the game. I've met my second, uh, I guess, companion, which I'm really enjoying quite a bit. I've really started getting more powers and abilities and upgrading, although it is a bit overwhelming because there's so many things you can upgrade. And it's like, well, what are you going to choose? And then you can, and Mark, I don't know what path you took. I picked Wizard, but you can then upgrade any of the classes if you want.
Yeah.
So you're not stuck. And then you can dual wield with wands and whatever you want. You can get pistols and blunderbusses and a shield, and I mean it allows you to play the way you want. And your companions, you control them, which is very cool. Like it's basically your wheel. When you pull it up, you're like, oh, jump on that guy. Use your vines, and then but it gets hard. I've gotten to certain parts, so I'm like, I am getting my butt kicked, and I've tried it a million times, and I'm having fun with them in, but I'm like, am I just under power, or I'm not doing this right? So, I may reduce it at difficulties at some point, because there's bounties which get really, really hard, and then there's main quests. There's all these other things you can do. It's not overwhelming in the amount of quests you can do, which is nice, but it is allows you to find your own path. There's emergent things where you can just find things out of the blue, which I enjoy a lot. So I'm really enjoying it. Really love the game. I think it's like a 30 to 40 hour game. If you go right through, if you do everything, it's like 80 hours. So I think I need to do more of a little straight lining, but I'm trying to always find the fun quests. The side quests are just like, oh, this one's a weird one. So I always try to look for like guides to say which side quest you should do. So I'm going to find more, but I am enjoying the game quite a bit. Have you been playing any more of it?
No, not a lot. I played it a little tiny bit more, and then Assassin's Creed hooked me for the last week or so.
Yeah, we're in a bad spot because April we are getting a lot more games, especially on your Xbox. We're getting South of Midnight. We are getting Assassin's Creed, of course, and then there's a bunch of other games too that are coming out. That turn-based RPG game from the French studio. So it's like a Western turn-based RPG. Clair Obscur Expedition 33. That looks really cool. It does have like a Mario Party-esque like quick time, or you basically do button presses to like either parry or do something as well, which adds another layer. I've heard that game is getting just rave reviews, even from people that don't like turn-based RPGs, which is interesting, but maybe it's the Western writing style and story approach that may turn people towards it versus just always being Japanese centric. Like the South Park RPG, which I love to pieces because it was a Western turn-based RPG, and I love that piece. So maybe it's for me. So we shall see. And maybe they eat baguettes and smoke cigarettes and talk because they're French.
Yeah.
Hopefully they do.
Exactly.
Yes. So I'm playing more of Avowed. Really love that. But the game that I got really excited for because it's getting great reviews, and I've really always appreciated what the studio does. And they are dedicated to co-op only experiences. And in the past, it's been hard to do it, but they've made it easier every iteration. Like It Takes Two was on Game Pass or on EA Play, and then it came to Game Pass. So, and then as long as you were on the same system or platform, you could play it. You could give your friend a code and essentially could play the game for free with you. Then with the newer game, Split Fiction, which is very cool. Basically, the rift is, or the pitch is that you've got these two authors. One's a fantasy author, one's a science fiction author. So Split Fiction. Get it? Split co-op for your co-op experience, split screen. So they're hitting on many levels of what they're going after. They go to talk to these two authors. You've got Mio and Nia, I think are their names. Very short names. One is a science fiction writer. She's kind of edgy, kind of dark, kind of snippy. And then we've got Mio, who is the British fantasy writer who just, as you would think, kind of stereotypical, like, oh, I like fantasy. And so it's like, it's very cute, but it ends up being a odd couple type of experience where they're going to this publisher, they're unpublished, they're going to get their ideas published and get paid for it. Mark, this is where it goes off the rails. So this is really at the very beginning. So I'm not spoiling anything. So you go to this publisher, it's called Radar Publishing, and it looks like it's a science laboratory. Like Norman Osborn obviously owns this place. And it's like they're a publishing firm. And then they start pitching it to you. The CEO looks like he's very cocky and everything. Everybody's wearing lab jackets. My wife has
that's
been
not a red
published.
flag at all.
She's never had to talk to people in lab jackets to publish her book. So then they say, oh, well, we're going to make it a interactive experience where you live out your stories and they come to life. So basically they go into the animus, like a bubble where they go into it wearing these suits. And they're like in suspended animation. The one science fiction writer gets spooked out and doesn't want to do this. So she freaks out. Everybody else goes in and she ends up getting, well, this is the premise. She ends up getting pushed in to the bubble with the fantasy writer. So obviously hijinks ensue. And that's why the two characters are together between their two, science fiction fantasy worlds. And that's where the fun starts. So I've played this twice. So the fun part is with this version, if you own a game on any platform, you can play with someone on any platform. So I got this on PS5 from Gamefly. I played it couch co-op with my son, which is great. And we played the characters. And at the beginning, you can pick either character. So it's making it good because then you can try a different experience every time you play. So that's one thing. And they let you have multiple saves and multiple starts. So it's not like where you play with one person, then if you play with another person, they have to start at the same level you're at. You can start with a new game, or you can also do chapter select. Just say, hey, I play this with somebody else. Can we go to chapter 4? Sure, why not? So it's very flexible to have a good time and not feel like you're repeating the same opening 18 times. Because I did that with two people. So I did it with Logan on the couch. The couch co-op is great. Works really well. It's a split screen. Works really well. And the whole dynamic is you are helping each other going through levels with different mechanics. It is fully utilizing so many game tropes, memes. There's an Assassin's Creed joke where you fall into a bale of hay, which is great.
Nice.
They said, "Oh, you have to have a leap. You have to have a leap of faith," is what they say. So obviously, it's from that. But they are doing a lot of the same mechanics. You get wall runs. You get like ledge crawls. You get, you have to get through this thing. So somebody has to launch something, and I like it how it's fantasy has certain aspects, and then the one science fiction level you play, you're cyber ninja. So one gets like a laser whip that can throw things. And then the other person gets a ninja sword that can attack things, but also uses inverted gravity. So you can throw your sword to a level and you're upside down. And then the other person, it's so inventive. The first boss is great. It's so much fun. So I'm just having a blast with the game. It looks beautiful. Controls awesome. Performs very solid considering it's a split screen game plus also online co-op. And when you play online co-op, it's actually still split screen, which is kind of interesting because they still do it because they want you to see the other character and what they're doing. It can be challenging, but I think it might be a game you could play with your kid at a certain age if you have a younger kid or a spouse. And I played it online with Chris John. We played it. He was playing it on PC. It's very easy. You basically you just have to be EA. You have to have an EA ID, and then you friend them. And once they get it, you can send them a request. They install it, and you're good to go. It is a big game, though, but it's super easy. And we were just using Discord to talk through when we did it. So,
that's fantastic.
Mark, if you ever are bored one night and want to play with me, I'll invite you, and it'll be a fun time. The game's not that expensive. It's like $50, but still, the fact that anybody can play with somebody who owns the game and it's done very well, 2 million copies, I think that's amazing.
That's great.
Yeah. So Split Fiction, it's on everything. And I am assuming it will be in a certain Nintendo-based system when that gets launched in a couple of months.
That's probably a good call and a great segue.
That is what we've been playing. So with that, before we get into the bonus round, here's an ad. Hey, Secret Friends Unite, let me tell you about Zencastr. We use them for our show, and now they're supporting us. Zencaster is now the all-in-one solution making podcasting easy. It's the ultimate web-based podcasting solution, provides high-quality audio and video podcast production and hosting. With a full suite of professional tools, podcasters can seamlessly record, produce, and publish studio-quality content, all from one dashboard. Being a creator has never been easier. And we chose Zencaster because of the ease of use, high quality output, and it makes it super easy for our guests to come on. We had multiple solutions we tried before, and Zencaster has just been the best fit for us. Why Zencaster? It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencaster. Log in using your browser and start recording a high quality podcast right away. Record studio quality sounds and up to 4K video with your guests. Feel a sense of zen knowing Zencaster's multi layered backups ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality, even if the connection is unstable. Have you ever worried what you sound like? Zencaster's post-production process makes you sound buttery smooth. It automatically removes those ums and ahs in your recording. It removes those awkward pauses in conversation too. Set the right podcast loudness and levels while reducing background noise with the click of a button. So if you're interested in making an easy, high-quality podcast just with the click of a browser button, go to Zencaster.com/pricing and use my code SFU1. You'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencaster paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. Now back to the show. So, Mark, hope everyone enjoyed that ad. Now it's time to talk about the bonus round. And Mark, this is our last chance to talk about what the Switch 2 will fully be, and all the things we don't know will be finally revealed. This is like one of those times where you're like, you have hopes, you have fears, you want to be surprised. You don't want to have that like, well, it's everything but this, and Nintendo, kicks you in the jimmy.
Yep.
It's like the monkey paw, right? You ask for this, you get that.
Always.
There hasn't been a lot of new news since we got the debut. We did hear that there's going to be Wi-Fi 6. We did hear that they're going to use a faster SD card technology, which is good. The internal storage will be faster, kind of like cell phone style storage, which is faster. It's not SSD, but it is faster, so that's good. They had someone said they did some area. Remote area vicinity speech, and nobody really knows what that means. So that's are you if you're driving in Mario Kart, if you're near them, you'll hear them, but once they're farther away, you won't hear them. Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe, or if you're just farther away from your dock, which is now your new Wii Speak, and that is the only way you can communicate with people. I don't know. It's Nintendo. There's rumors that there's a Nintendo GameCube controller coming for the Switch 2. Which could mean, which could mean
patent
Switch, Switch Online, which with the GameCube company Switch Online, which may make sense. I mean, the GameCube is now 20, how many years old? 25, 24?
Something like that. Yeah. Yeah. It's,
I mean, it's basically the N64 was on, even on the
2001.
What was it? And then the GameCube was on, or N64 was on the Wii. Wasn't it on the Wii eShop or Virtual Console? Yeah, so it's it's not been that long. So I don't know, any other things you've heard about the system before we get into our predictions?
No, I was gonna say I saw the GameCube thing today and the patent applications and sketches and all that kind of stuff. So seems reasonable. I don't think GameCube emulation is wildly difficult. I think that'd be great.
We got what? We got Super Mario Sunshine, right? On that Mario 3D collection.
Yep.
We also got Galaxy and Galaxy 2. No, just Galaxy. So we got Wii emulation to Ascend or port or whatever we want to call it. So I think it's feasible.
Yeah, see, and I don't know how they did those games. I don't know if it was packaged emulation or a port as like running on Switch hardware natively. I'd have to look into that, how they did that All Star Collection.
Yeah. So, but as we know, a lot of the little handhelds we own, people that can buy those handhelds, those Chinese handhelds that are amazing, can do GameCube ports and run
Yeah.
Dolphin. So, you know what? I
Yeah.
think the Switch 2 could probably handle it. So we'll see
Yeah.
what Nintendo does. We'll see that they're basically just ROM ports, and we're like, yep, they got them for the Pirate Bay.
Essentially.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm trying to think of anything else that's been, that's come out there. So it's basically a lot of rumors, but nothing is confirmed. And quite honestly, I had expected more crazy things, but really at this point, it feels
Yeah.
very tempered, and which is, I guess, more mature of us. But it's almost like, well, we kind of know what the system is now, but we don't know everything about it. So
Yeah.
it's now time for us to do our predictions, Mark. And
Okay.
kind of like what we want, those sort of things. I put some areas I think we can address. And then if there's
Mhm.
anything else you're like, you want to add in to add some spice to it, we'll do that as well. But
Okay.
before we get into that, go ahead and tell us what the winter gamer said.
The Winter Gamer said his only prediction is that we will hear more people are disappointed with what they show, but still, the Switch 2 will do well. So you're going to get those people that are saying, oh, they didn't show a game that's interesting for me. Oh, I can't believe they only did this. Oh, it's just why didn't they call it Super Switch? It's not a real sequel, blah, blah, blah. And then they'll go out and buy 2 copies. I think he's right.
I think so too. No, I mean, any direct, any conference, anytime they have one, it feels like not everybody's finds something to bitch about.
Yeah.
So even though they'll be like happy with 95% of it. Oh, well. Let's see. Brian Oran says for Switch 2 related content, he says, do I remember them announcing backwards compatibility? Yes, they did.
Yes.
Excluding a few things, which would mean it's probably something that is Joy-Con related because we're getting new Joy-Cons, so maybe they don't fit right, like Labo or Ring Fit Adventure.
Yeah, the two main. I think there's certain features of a couple of other games. I think like the biggest name title was it Resident Evil or something like that. One of the Resident Evil games has
Okay.
like a weird Joy-Con related gimmick for one mode kind of thing. But like
Okay.
there's a handful of games. I did list them off on a previous episode. I'd have to go back.
We
and
don't
find
know
that
if it
note,
has an
but
IR sensor
so,
yet, or that
yeah.
infrared sensor. So that would be like 1-2 switch, the rear
Yeah.
1-2 switch kind of thing, where
Yeah.
your mouth is doing things
Yeah.
very sexually. Maybe they just did that to save us. I'm trying to think what else is the other. That's about it. I think how it fits, and then maybe that IR sensor is the main things that would be weird, and that's not many games. So,
Yeah.
it's that great game garage thing. I think maybe is another one.
Yeah. Yeah, you could be right with that. I'm
There's not
going through
many.
some past notes, but I'm not seeing.
It's
I might
just
have
not many.
deleted it.
Even but the Switch Lite in a lot of ways sometimes it didn't do things either because of didn't support desktop mode or whatever. So tabletop mode. So you know what? I think we're going to be okay. It's not going to be a huge list, which is a good thing. Yeah. So backwards compatibility, really, yeah, physical and digital, which is great. Other than that, he says, I feel like sales may not be that great. They are due for a few flagships though, so like Mario Kart, new 3D Mario, Metroid Prime 4. Better be a banger though, and give me Prime 2 and 3 on Switch, please. Which is weird. We never got the Switch, the Prime 2 and Prime 3 remaster after we got one. So maybe they're just gonna put those
Super weird.
together and maybe do a trilogy, maybe release.
So I'm going to just jump right into one of my predictions here, and that is Metroid Prime 4 is shown off as what I'm thinking is a launch showcase title. This is the Breath of the Wild of this generation. This is like, it works on the Switch, but the place you want to play it is Switch 2. It's going to be synonymous with the Switch 2 launch. It's going to look beautiful. It's going to change the gameplay in some meaningful way. It's going to knock people's socks off. But I'm very curious if they will have that as a launch title or if we will get Or maybe that's an in between thing. Maybe for this, they show off, hey, Metroid Prime 4 launching with the Nintendo Switch 2 at this time. And today, you can download 2 and 3 as you wait.
Would be smart. Yeah.
I could see them doing that, or I could see them saying, hey, we need a little bit more time for Metroid Prime 4 to cook. It's going to launch early next year, and you will get Metroid Prime 2 in July and Metroid Prime 3 in November, and then we'll have the new game for you sometime in February.
What if they said we're giving you the Metroid Prime trilogy as a collection, and it's $60 or $70? That would seem like a cool deal, right? Because Prime 1 was 40, and they just say, and I've heard that they have those other games done, but they are not at the level of care that Prime 1 was. So more like a fresh coat of paint, but not like what they did with Prime 1, which felt like, wow, that's bringing that game alive. So maybe that's what they do. But I think that could be something they could do. Yeah, so I think that could be really interesting. Yeah, but I've heard rumors that Prime 4 is going to have a big showing at the launch. So I think that's true because we did see more of that game and it's been cooking for a long, long time. So I think that's a good pivot to get into the questions I have here, and we can get into more as well. So I said, Mark, we need to at least, predict price, launch date, and if there'll be more than one version. So what do you think?
I think. What's an OLED in the States right now? 350?
349? 350. Yep, 350.
I want to say 400, maybe 450 for this. I don't know, man. Like, I can't imagine I was talking to someone today who said they heard a rumor that it's going to be $500. And I just feel like that is absolutely crazy. But maybe that's like
do you want to know the inflation calculator for 2017 at $300? What it is in 2025?
Not really. Well, I don't really care.
It's
that
almost
much.
$400. It's almost $400 with inflation.
Yeah,
so if you say, okay,
that makes sense. Yeah. But the OLED model's $349. So I'm basing it off of current OLED model, not launch price for Switch.
Sure.
But I could see $400 easy selling the OLED for $349 and have this one for $399 and knock the price of the OLED back a little bit. So you have a $300 console, a $400 console,
200, 300, and 400.
Yeah, I could see that working. But when you get to $500 console, what's a PlayStation 5 go for right now, US?
Oh, you can get one for $400 right now digitally with Astrobot.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you're talking PS5 Slim Disc Edition, $499.
And then you get
for $499 would be putting it into that range.
Version you can get the disc version for $450 with Astrobot right now. It's on sale. It's like a
Astrobot. Wow.
Yeah.
So I really don't think that they can be undercut by a PS4 or PS5 and Xbox. I just feel like that would be absolutely insane unless this thing is batting way above where it should be.
Unless we get a very, very well. What did we talk about, Mark? We talked about the very. I don't think Nintendo's never been like a cocky. I mean, sometimes they were like, "Oh yeah, you can't beat us for Nintendo," but they rarely do the, "Oh, that's dumb." I mean, we got the 250 3DS, and they brought that down. But I mean, other than that, I mean, you don't get typically the cocky
that's what sunk the Wii U. The Wii U is the most expensive console.
It was $350. Yeah,
it sucked. The hardware sucked. The titles,
and they never reduced the price.
Fantastic. They never reduced the price. They stuck to their guns. No. They said, "Here's this stupid Fisher Price toy that's a problem looking or a solution.
You can't play it on the toilet. It's not that it won't stretch to the toilet."
The game library had some absolute gems on it, but like comparatively, the bang for your buck just was not there. And I think the Switch sold so well because it was novel, but Switch 2 isn't new anymore. You have other handhelds, you have portable PCs that can run entire Steam libraries, and you're coming in with a
You get a Steam Deck for
$500.
$350 right now. You get a Steam Deck
Yeah,
for $350 right now. Yeah. So yeah.
I think coming in with a $500 Switch 2 is crazy. So I'm hoping it's $450 at a maximum. But I think there'll be probably only one version if that's the case. And it's just the 450. I think there'll be two versions, like, one with like
Black
a
and white.
colored Joy-Con or not, or, black or white or whatever.
So we've only
But
seen black with the colors on the inside, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm wondering if they'll do something more color pop. I'm wondering if they'll do something that's all black, or maybe like black with the white rings inside instead of colors.
Yeah, they
something
did the
like
white,
that, or white with
OLED.
black.
Yeah.
I'm really curious if they do that kind of thing, but I think no matter what, I think there'll be one price point for this, especially if it's expensive and they keep the Switch selling, like the Switch 1. Yeah, I can't see them doing a confusing Wii U launch where, oh, here's the base model and here's the upgraded one and here's what this one can do and you can't do this with that one. It's like, no, just learn your lesson from that. Launch the Switch 2 and call it a day.
The 8 gigabyte versus, what was it? The 8 gigabyte Wii U versus the 32. It's like, and it's $50 difference, and one is black and one is white. It's like, okay, very weird. When does it launch?
I'm sticking to what I said early, late May, early June. I think I said the first time around when we first got that
early
launch trailer,
June, just to be
said,
safe. There you go.
I said, follow a similar timeline. You're getting like May 19th ish area, May 20th, 23rd. They could push it back a little bit, but I'd say late May, early June.
That's a good window. I'll give you, because I think that's in the wheelhouse of being feasible.
Yep.
Okay.
What are you thinking for that?
I will say $400, because I think they're going to be like, inflation, things have come in, they're going to protect themselves, but it will be in line with our expectations. And it does set up the $200, $300, and $400 entry points of systems, kind of like they kept on the 3DS for a while and they did other things. So I think that's fair. So I think $400.
I do not want to get political with this statement or question at all. Just throwing it out there. Mm-hmm. Are tariffs that your country's government is putting on other countries, are they potentially going to start affecting consoles and stuff coming from Japan? Is Japan, China, like that's
unless they are assembled? Unless they're assembled in a place where, like, say, Indonesia. Are we putting tariffs in Indonesia? So
it seems like the tariffs are kind of worldwide at this point, right? Like they've
absolutely,
they've hit a lot of different countries, my own included,
and it's various things too. It's like certain various things have certain levels, and it's like, and how are you picking this?
And then some other things are just kind of blanket. Anything coming from this country as a whole is
like European liquor. That it is now a $200% tariff. European liquor. It's like, okay, that's very crazy. Random. Maybe someone at a certain Mar-a-Lago owns a winery and he wants that to be the official winery of the United States. Don't know.
Again, I'm not going to get into the political ramifications or reasonings for it. I'm just curious if getting a console in Canada will be comparatively cheaper than, say, getting one in the States with a 25 or 20% extra tax on before it's imported into your country.
If a lot of countries will be smart, they will find a way to get their countries outside of the US and directly import it into their country. Like, do they use Mexico, or do they use
can't use Mexico
some
anymore.
European port of contact? That's where I'm like, I'm not sure how it works with Canada. If they get the majority of their consoles through the US, do they go through like Mexico? Do
Yeah,
they
I'm
get?
sure.
I'm assuming they're not getting. I mean, is it
I
slow
mean,
boat into your
Nintendo of
ports?
Canada is a thing. They do have a Canadian subsidiary. It's
Is
not
that through
big.
Vancouver?
I believe it's in
Where's
Vancouver.
they headquartered?
Um,
Okay,
I think maybe Vancouver. I'm not 100% sure, but I
which
know
would make
Nintendo
sense
does have
because
A
getting
Canadian subsidiary, and I know they do specifically Canadian things like having French on all of the boxes alongside English,
yes,
so it's not the same boxes that you're getting. Excuse me, getting in the States. So uh, maybe in the past they have shipped them to somewhere in the States and then up to Canada, but I imagine that Nintendo of Canada would be working around that if there are extra
yes,
levies and tariffs placed on that.
it
Like,
would
hey,
make
ship
sense
them
to use
directly to
Vancouver as
BC
their hub.
and let's get
Yeah.
rid of this and save Canadians 20 or 25% or whatever it is. Just a question. Again, do not want to get into the league,
No, it's not even
political
political. It's just it's
ramification.
economical
Just a
because yeah,
realistic question for your country right now because they seem to be tossing them on everything and anyone. Um, which is it's what they're doing. Just a fact. So I'm very curious if yours is going to be relatively like dollar for dollar. Will you pay 20% extra for a new console? It's going to be interesting to
and
see.
and it will be interesting to see if just Nintendo padded the price to protect themselves. Just inflation, everything else,
Maybe,
and just say
yeah.
that's what it is. And Nintendo typically doesn't lean into new gen tech. They typically
Mhm.
lean into tried and true technology through NVIDIA. So they're
Yeah.
not going after the latest and greatest NVIDIA Tegra chips. They're going to use something there. When they went to OLED, they went to a 720p OLED screen, which is obviously
Yep.
what even has a 720p screen now, even in a phone. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're getting an OLED. I think we're getting an LCD screen, but the LCD
I
screens are
think so.
still pretty good these days. So there's going to be things that they're doing. It's going to have a lot of RAM, but once again, a lot of things they're not using NVIDIA. They're not using SSDs.
Yeah.
Sorry, did you hear my cat? He's making a lot of
Nope.
noise. He's looking for tariffs. Uh, um, sorry. So yeah, I'm curious what they do too. Their tech sounds like they're going to have 16 gigabytes of RAM, which is great. Which leans
Yeah.
me into thinking we're actually going to get in-system voice chat, which is great. So that would be
Ooh, that'd be
amazing.
great. Yeah.
Problem with this the Switch was it just didn't have enough system resources to do voice chat plus. So it sounds
Yep.
like this time it will be okay. So I'm going to say $400. I think we will get two colors, but yeah, no like variable differences in what they
Okay.
actually
Yeah.
do. It'll just be like we got what was it like the all black and then we get the all black plus black or we got all black and then black plus blue and red Joy-Cons. That was the
Correct.
only
Yeah.
difference.
The tablet itself at launch of Switch
It was all
was
black. Yeah.
all that was just that was the tablet. So the Joy-Con were red and blue or the two grays.
Yeah.
That was it. Take it, leave it, whatever. And they've done the same thing with the OLED. You can get the white version or you can get the blue
Blue and
and
red.
red. So
Yep.
stands to reason that I'm just curious what the second one looks like at this point. Or,
Yep.
Is it going to be inverse? Is it going to be like color with a black ring? Is it going to be something that we haven't expected yet? But I think we will get two colors, one price point.
Okay,
Right
cool.
with you on
Yeah,
that
two
one.
colors, one price point, $400. I think we're in the same boat. I am thinking, because we're getting the reveal May 2nd, we do have those events that are around the world that they're going to showcase it, but that doesn't mean that they still can't launch anytime because they still have to show the people the system because not everybody's going to buy it at launch. But
Mhm.
I do believe we'll be getting into, I'm just looking at my calendar really quick to see our dates. And if I look at this right, we have what E3. Nintendo will probably have an event. So if they can get the Switch out there before, they can talk about like, hey, here's what's coming. Our event showed this,
Mm.
and E3 launched, the games come out, and then this is what's coming in 2025,
Yes.
2026.
Yeah.
So, and I think the what is Jeff Keighley's Summer of Gaming Adventures, Summer Game Fest, SGF? I think that's June. If you look up SGF, you're going to get some weird things like Shady Grove Fertility. So I'm not sure why. Uh, I'm just looking up Summer Games Fest when it is, Mark. So I don't know. I don't know what you get when
Yeah.
you search SGF, but it says it will be June 6th.
Right.
So Memorial Day is a U.S. holiday, not anywhere else. So it doesn't really matter to Japan. Doesn't matter to the rest of the world. So you know what? I will say, I think I'm in your camp. I'm going to say it's going to be May 26th.
Ooh, all right.
I'm just going to say, or
Specifically
well,
locked down a day. I love it.
well, that week. So, I mean, I don't know. When did they launch anything these days? Is it a Tuesday, a
Yeah, I
Friday,
don't. Yeah.
whatever? Yeah. So I'm going to say May 20th, the week of, is May 26th, the week of May 26th. Okay. Because you've got like May, June. So,
Yeah, I said the 16th or the 23rd. So you're picking the week after, which is great. I picked 2 Fridays.
oh, okay.
So you would
Yeah,
technically be the 30th if they launch on a Friday.
sure. And I don't know if they would
But
say,
like,
because if it's worldwide, then like, are they going to try to avoid like, I don't think they avoid anything. Nintendo doesn't
no,
have
they
to
launched
really.
Switch on a Friday because everyone got
Yeah.
theirs on
Okay.
Friday and
I'll
then
pick
mine
May
arrived
30th.
freaking Tuesday.
I'll pick May 30th. We'll go from
Okay.
there. Okay,
All
cool.
right.
We got that settled. I think we're good to go. We're all in kind of the same ballpark here. What's the launch lineup, Mark?
New Mario Kart,
Are they
Metroid
calling
Prime
it New
4.
Mario Kart? Do you have a name?
I think Mario Kart 10. I think we're at 10, right? Some people are saying 9. I think we're at 10.
Well, 9 was Tour, right?
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Okay.
So 10. Metroid Prime 4. Ah, man, I want to say, are we launch lineup or launch window?
You know, if we call lineup the launch lineup, which is games they focus on, let's just say the games they highlight in the showcase, which will be out in
Ooh,
the
okay.
first.
I
I don't
think they're gonna
like because
showcase another
we saw
3D
through.
Mario game.
So when we saw that Switch event or the Switch One event, we saw the Mario game, which came out in the fall.
Yeah,
You think
yeah.
we're going to see games that are all through the fall,
Oh yeah,
or do you think
absolutely.
not?
Yeah,
Okay,
for
so
sure.
okay, just give me the
Yeah,
games you think will be shown
okay.
in the window of what they showed.
I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna leave it at a 3D Mario game. So Mario Kart 10, Metroid Prime 4, 3D Mario game, and I think they're going to be a big third party swing. I don't know if we'll see. I mean, we could even see something like, depends on how powerful this thing is, but we could see something like Assassin's Creed Shadows or games that have just been recently launched on other consoles. Um, I think there'll be some partnerships, some surprising things from like Microsoft with like Sea of Thieves or a couple of games that use mouse control. Um, yeah, so I think that big third party swing, and then Pokemon, Mario Kart,
You
Metroid,
said
3D
Pokemon too,
Mario.
because
I think
ZA
it's show Pokemon ZA.
that's
Yeah,
fall though, right?
yeah, I think they'll still show it and show it
Okay,
running on Switch too, because the Pokemon Day announcement trailer thing didn't say yes or no to a Switch 2 announcement. So I think they'll be smart to just like, it's a freebie, right? Like we already know about the game.
yeah, it's a game
I think
coming,
they
and
can
it's also going to
just,
be in. Yeah,
yeah, show that. Um, I'd love to see like the next Animal Crossing, Pikmin, like any of those kind of big swings, but I don't know if they're for this announcement trailer. I don't know. What are you
okay.
thinking?
One. So, Mark, you know what? I'm gonna echo at least the Mario Kart 10, the Metroid Prime 4 being these are the games you're gonna get. There's something for
Yeah.
the the everyday fan and something for the hardcore. Because I think at this point they realize that the hardcore gamers are going to buy these games. So I think that's cool.
Yep.
Um, other than that, though, that's the hard one because it's like I remember at the Switch One, it was 1-2 Switch, um, Arms, and
Right.
then Breath of the
Yeah.
Wild. Right? That
Yeah.
was the three games that launched day one. They had
Yeah.
a bunch of indies that like got some traction. They got some
Yeah.
games that
Snipper
were smaller that
clips.
got some tractions. Yep.
Is it a
Was it
snake game?
Snake?
What's the other
The
snake
Snake
something?
game? Yeah. Yeah. And then it
Yeah.
seemed like, okay, that was a good time to launch. Now it's going to be harder for these games to really stand out because the
Yeah.
Switch eShop is so packed
It's
and
shovelware and
there's
it's all
backwards
backwards
compatibility.
compatible. Yeah.
Exactly. So I am curious if we'll see any games that just really like, wow, this is an indie that, I mean, may you know what? I'm gonna put my flag in the sand. Hollow Knight Silk Song shows up. It's the
Wow.
game
All right.
that is going to be there. We're going to get Hades 2 showing up
Ooh.
with the
Okay.
official release because it's been in beta.
Yep.
That's going to be a big game too. Then we are going to get, I think we will get finally Microsoft Game Studios showing up. Now, the
Yeah.
game that will launch is going to be interesting. And that's where I'm thinking it may be the Master Chief Collection.
Oh
I'm
shit.
wondering
Wow.
if that's
Wow.
the right pick, or maybe it's Sea of
Okay.
Thieves. It might could
That's
be
what I
both.
was
It could be
I was
like,
thinking Sea of Thieves or Civilization or one of the age games, something with a mouse pointer control, RTS game.
yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think of any
Makes
other
sense.
games that would work for Nintendo, but maybe it's Sea of Thieves and Master Chief Collection are the ones that show up. And maybe I'm trying to think of any other games that fit. I just feel like that could be a game that could really do well.
Yeah.
Um, and maybe and this is my stretch goal. I'm thinking we could see. I don't know. I don't want to. I don't know if I want to get that crazy. But we could see a PlayStation game that's already on PC because we already saw
Mm,
some other games come to. I was going to say Astrobot, but that's too early for a game like
yeah.
that. But I'm trying to think of a PlayStation game that would work really well on Switch. But I think Master Chief Collection, Sea of Thieves, definitely third party, and I think we
Yeah.
could see I'm trying to think of any other games, but I think those are the two from a third party that would really be like, oh, Microsoft's all in on this, and maybe
Yeah.
even what was do they? Oh, so they still own um, the one game that got published and people loved by Microsoft and it was sold off by Tango GameWorks. Hi-Fi Rush. They still
Oh
own
yeah.
that, right? So Hi-Fi Rush may come out too. That would be a
Yeah.
game I think would be do really well. So I'll put that in there too. And then the game you
That's
mentioned,
cool.
and I do think we'll get a 3D Mario, but I think it's definitely going to be the fall game. So,
Okay. Yeah.
um, and I don't think we're due for I don't think we're due for a Splatoon game yet. So that's where I'm going to land.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Although, wouldn't it be awesome if Arms got a second chance? But probably not at launch.
Yeah. I
Okay.
wonder if they're killing backwards compatibility with Ring Fit, will we get another one?
I think that's smart. I love the game so much.
Yeah.
Um, but now that it's not going to be supported, it would make
Yeah.
sense to say
Ring
this is
Fit
the new
2.
Hoop. This is the new sequel. And by the way, the game itself, Ring
Mhm.
Fit 1 is also still available digitally, but it works with your
With the new
Hoop.
accessories.
And then here's the new one. Yeah. Or maybe it's
Yeah, it'd be a
just they resell
smart
it.
thing for launch. Yeah.
Oh, maybe what if they just said Ring Fit Deluxe and it's
Yeah.
Ring Fit, new Hoop, and also comes with like DLC or something.
100% could see them doing that.
I mean, that makes sense because, why not? People love
Yeah.
that game, and if it doesn't work, they'll buy it again. I would buy it again
Yeah,
because
me
why
too.
not? It was so much
Yeah.
fun. So
Day
yeah, I
one.
think that would happen. That would be awesome. I mean, it's great. So yeah, Ring Fit, fantastic. OS upgrades and features, Mark. This is the stuff we have not seen yet. We've not seen a Switch 2 turn on yet. We
Yeah.
haven't seen what they're going to do. There's been so many things that people want the Switch to do, and it just never did.
Yep.
So what do you think?
GameCube on Nintendo Switch Online. Um, Weirdly, I think the layout's going to be mostly the same. They might do something cool with it, but I think the Switch grid kind of, for the most part, kind of works. I'd love to see them do some themes rather than just dark and white. Um, but yeah, I don't know if that's going to be the big swing. I don't like with the name Switch 2, I really wonder if it's just going to be like iPhone 15 and iPhone 16. It's like, okay, well, the iOS
This
version
is Nintendo
changed, but like,
OS. Yeah, Switch
yeah,
OS. Yeah.
and they've done those incremental versions of the OS since Switch launched. But I would, instead of seeing them swing for the fences with a new OS, I'd love to just see the thing get snappier, take advantage of the Switch 2 hardware.
Oh,
Cause
that
like,
eShop. That
ooh,
eShop is
man, it's slow.
sluggish. Yeah.
It is slow. So like, same OS, hardware improvement, win, or like a pared down OS or something. If that's the issue, like I just want, I don't need a single visual change. Again, aside from like maybe some themes or something that'd be fun if it could handle it. But like, I would happily take zero theming changes, zero OS visual changes, and just have the thing actually perform.
You're a man of limited, basically anticipation of what they'll do. Like, give me something that works and it's
That's it.
faster.
That's all. I
Yeah,
just want
okay,
something that
I
works.
get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
What about yourself?
So, Mark, do you know how much RAM the current Switch has?
I'm going to guess 4 gigs.
Absolutely. You know how many gigs this is supposed to have?
16?
Yes. So we don't have to be beggars anymore, Mark. I
Yeah.
mean, we're simple men with simple needs, but I think we can be a little bit more anticipatory where they say, yeah, sure, this is Switch 2, but this is going to be the Switch with a lot of personality. And I think we're going to get back to where Switch used to have a lot of personality. You think of like the Miiverse, you think of like the eShop with a catchy tune, you think of like
Yeah.
those stamps that were beyond the 3DS, all those things, folders. I think we're going to get a lot more of that. I think we're going to get themes and we're going to have fun. Kind of think of like those backgrounds you get with like Xbox and PlayStation, where they
Yeah, they're
they
great.
play with your background, and Nintendo could
So fun
really
on
benefit from that.
3DS.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to get dynamic backgrounds.
Mm. I mean, they
I
even
think
sold those for 3DS. I mean, that you could buy themes.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I think we're going to get dynamic backgrounds. We're going to get themed every. So I think we're getting rid. This is the scary part. They're getting rid of the Nintendo. What was it? Rewards program or whatever they're calling it. They're
The
getting rid of that
gold
thing.
coins or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the gold coins, everything. So I think they're going to go deep more into like digital rewards, and they're going to introduce something. But that's where it's going to be more towards all these things you're going to purchase now will just be to sell back into the system. And the first hit's 3, like you can get this from there,
Yeah.
but then you can also pay more to get this. So I think that's where they're going to go to, but dynamic backgrounds, but they're also going to go into themes, and they're going to sell you things, or you can get rewards that you can use it on that. I don't think you're going to get physical rewards anymore, even though I've got a ton of them, so I'm going to buy some more before I leave. So I think that's where they're going to lean to digital rewards, stickers, things like that. Personalization will be king on this. Maybe even like background music while you're playing. Obviously, Nintendo Switch Music is a thing. Maybe that becomes more of a pervasive thing where you can just have the sound in your Switch as you're going through everything. Exactly. And maybe it's themed. So you get music, you get icons, you get everything that's themed with it. So I think that's where it's going to be. I don't know how the extent they'll do it, Mark, but I think this is going to be the Switch with personality, because where else can they lean into? It doesn't look much different, but at least they can make experience inside more fun. I think people will be amazed because people loved everything about the eShop on Wii. So I think we're going to get music within the eShop. I think the eShop is going to be a little bit more fun as well. It'll be a little less just gross. It feels like it doesn't have much personality. I think it needs to have it. So I think we're going to get that. We may even get like a eShop person that sells you the games. Like it's almost like a little desk where you bring the game to them and they say, okay, I'll sell it to you. I don't know. Yeah.
Bring that little
Why
rabbit
not?
back that used to sell me the pins on
Exactly.
3DS.
That game where you had the claw. I love that so much. On the 3DS. That was amazing. So yeah, I think personality. I don't know what that all entails, Mark, but you just heard it from me. I mentioned a bunch of things: stickers, themes, music. I think we're also going to get.
I hope you're right.
I hope I'm not. I hope I'm right, but you know what? Nintendo doesn't listen to me anymore. They basically, the restraining order is still in effect. Sorry. Yeah. I think also that the communication will get to a point where it's like everybody talks to everybody. It's just the modern times. We're going to get in-game voice chat. It's still going to have some restrictions, but it will still be better than what it was. And you don't need a app on your phone to do it. But it may still require friend codes or something like that. But I still think it will be in-game. We learned that with Fortnite. They could do it. Other games could do it, but with more headroom in their OS, I think they can do it. So we're going to get some type of communication system that is better.
Yep.
And let's see. I think we're going to get more options for entertainment. I think we're going to get some type of like Crunchyroll or something like that. Yeah, I think we're going to get more entertainment apps now because you're going to get a bigger screen. You've got a better option, and it's like, why would you want to leave the Switch when you can go to another device? Just have it there. You're going to have people there. You can maybe watch it together. So yeah. Okay. So that is what I'm thinking, Mark. So with that, any last predictions?
I think we covered pretty much everything that I have in mind for this. Yeah, sounds like a good launch.
I hope so. April 2nd, it's in the morning, which is great. We don't know how long this is, and I hope it's a lot less weird in Japanese than the last one. And hopefully we'll be able to pre-order at that time. And because I know a lot of people are very excited about it, but it sounds like you have like 20 million systems year one. So that's a lot. So all we can do is hope. All right. So Mark, we got through this. So with that, I'm assuming you're buying day one?
I think so. As of right now, yes. We'll see.
Okay.
But yeah, probably.
Okay. Yeah. And Logan has my Switch, so I have no Switch to play right now. So I have to buy a Switch if I want to play any of these Nintendo games. So we'll see how it goes. So that is it for the show. Thank you, everyone, for the comments, the fun, the vibrant return, and also your predictions with the Switch. We appreciate you. So, Mark, before we leave, where can people reach you?
Mostly Instagram, but also hanging out in Discord, Blue Sky, Threads, all that kind of stuff as Canardian_Jedi.
Excellent. I am primarily on the Blue Sky these days at Todd Oxtra, at Secret Friends Unite, on the Threads at T Oxtra, at Secret Friends Unite, on the Threads and Instagram there as well. By the way, I did post a very fun video about me eating some cool Lay's chips from the Asian mall. So if you want to see more of things like that, let me know. Yes. So there we go. So folks, thank you for joining us. Mark and I are always looking for more people to talk about the world of games. So if you're interested in talking with us, let us know. We'd love to have you on. And with that, Mark, thank you. Feel better. Get some rest. And remember, folks, it's always better to game together.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and podcast services around the galaxy, as well as video on our YouTube channel. You can support Secret Friends Unite by becoming a Patreon member, get bonus programs and more over at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Join our Discord community for even more discussions on all things geek. For all the latest updates on Secret Friends Unite, make sure to follow us on Threads at secret.friends.unite and visit secretfriendsunite.com. Find our merchandise at TeePublic and Redbubble. Thanks for listening, and may the Force live long and prosper.